In Frankenstein, there is one and only one reaction to the creature, horror. The creature is made of human parts and yet not human himself, appearing deeply unsettling even in his most sympathetic moments. Watery yellow eyes, skin stretched too tight over an enormous frame, a shriveled complexion, black lips. The creature is made all the worse for his coming close to humanity, but failing to mimic it entirely. This revulsion of the human endures through every take on the stories. The creature's appearance horrifies both his creator and the people that he encounters. But while Shelley's creature was the first created being to cause this reaction, he is not the only one. 129 years later, in 1947, Isaac Asimov first used the phrase Frankenstein complex in his short story Little Lost Robot. After 100 years, the repulsion at seeing something close to human yet instinctively wrong still remains strong, as seen by the uncanny valley theory, which claims reaction to robots changes dramatically by how eerily close they are to humans. But how these inhuman creations are actually presented has shifted, leading to this Frankenstein complex having a very different tone in the original work compared to the works it later inspired. Frankenstein's monster was the first of its kind, both in the fictional world and in literature. The creature is a prototypical tortured monster, a reject with almost schizophrenic portrayal. He swings from a sympathetic speech one moment to murderous intentions the next. Now his protagonist focuses on him as a demon and a thing. Frankenstein even finds a way for the creature, removes disturbing, describing his unnerving agility and speed which allows him to escape his creator at every meeting. Later creations of science fiction, robots, prompt much the same response. Despite the apparent dominance of humanity in the Asimov's works, humanity is still afraid of what they represent. As said by Susan Calvin in Little Lost Robot, all normal life, Peter, consciously or otherwise, resents domination. If the domination is by an inferior or supposed inferior, the resentment comes stronger. Physically and to an extent mentally, any robot, is superior to human beings. This is what makes the robots a potential threat in Asimov's stories, with the first law of robotics keeping them in place. But Frankenstein's creation has no such law over him to keep him from harming humans. Instead, like the Nestor rod, he realizes his superiority and uses it to his advantage, and the detriment of the humans around him. His own creator comes to the same realization while building the female creature, and it's this thought while creating a real threat to humanity's survival that makes him rip apart his work. While the phrase would take over 100 years to appear, the Frankenstein complex is clearly at work in the original text. However, while the lost robot of Asimov's story views himself as superior to humans, the same cannot be said for Shelley's creature. While he rages at his creator, he never proclaims himself to be above humanity. Instead, he refers to himself as miserable and wretched, beaten down by the instinctive hatred humanity has for him. In the counterpoint to the Asimov quote, the creature presents himself as something subhuman, hated and not allowed any protection from his creator's wish to destroy him. I am malicious because I am miserable. Am I not shunned and hated by all mankind? You, my creator, would tear me to pieces in triumph. Remember that, and tell me why I should pity man more than he pities me? You would not call it murder if you should precipitate me into one of those ice rifts and destroy my frame, the work of your own hands. Shall I respect man when he condemns me? The creature may have physical superiority and be eloquent, but all his energy is turned towards revenge against a specific target, rather than trying to rise above humanity in general. And in his human sympathy, this shows the greatest shift in how the sphere complex has changed between the publishing of the two works. Despite being made of metal parts, the robots are treated in a very human-like manner. They are interviewed, their model lines have human-like names, they are recognized as being intelligent beings in their own right, even with their pre-programmed limitations and the concerns of their finding loopholes in the three laws. The original Frankenstein creation, meanwhile, has no name and no recognized personhood. Although the creature is made of human parts, there is a much wider gap between himself and humanity, and no hope is shown for the bridge to be made between himself and it. Every encounter the creature has with humans ends in disaster, furthering a sense of misanthropy. This may be seen as a reflection of how science and its creations have changed over time. Science in Mary Shelley's time was just beginning to come in its own, and while her education allowed her a better understanding than most women of the time, it was still colored by her own mistrust of it and the views of the Romantic period. Her scientist goes against the ideal of the Romantic age scientist respecting nature. Instead, Frankenstein defies it by bringing dead matter back to life. Shelley's focus is on how an attempt to control nature leads to scientific disaster, and how the Enlightenment era science that Frankenstein follows, trying to break down nature to understand life and death, leads to folly and disaster. The later view of science in Asimov's stories stems from the post-war atomic age, with a focus on science leading to positive outcomes for humanity. In the span of over 100 years, attempting to create life is no longer a crime, but an important step in humanity's development. While the complex created by Shelley's original fears still remains, the overtone of the work towards humanity's creations has changed. They might not be human, they might have some threatening characteristics, but on the whole they are still more like us than not. Like the creature going from a lost, innocent mute to a well-experienced and well-spoken character, the view of the non-human seems to have grown and changed since its original inception. Understanding the uncanny valley idea might also help explain why these reactions differ so greatly. Research has shown that while the uncanny valley theory is supported strongly by people's reactions to naturalistic drugs at distance, the feeling rapidly fades once they actually spend time around the robot. Also important to note is that corpses score lower than robots on the chart, and zombies lower than anything else, and Frankenstein's creature is an assembly of walking corpses. Thus, the differing reactions to robots and the creature could be regarded as the natural result of the psychological reaction. Robots may be eerie at first, but humans are quick to acclimate to something that's almost right. A walking corpse, on the other hand, is not something so easily downplayed by the mind, and thanks to culture views of death, is inherently threatening. Despite the lingering cultural meme of humanity's creation thrown amok, there can be a change seen in how these creatures are presented to their audience. While Shelley's original work was sympathetic, this was always tempered by the knowledge that he was a mercurial killer as well. His ability to be a threat is never downplayed by anyone but the creature himself. Long after Shelley, the fear of this possibility of humanity destroying menace still remains, but the effects are weakened. There is potential to be dangerous there, but most of humanity's creations are friendly and willing to work alongside, not against humanity. The Frankenstein complex is more of an old prejudice caused by fear than a true threat. The memory of Shelley's creature still lingers in later works, but rather than the warning against unchecked science, it serves as a reminder of how the fear of the other can still separate humans from something that is very close to and yet not human.